shots, turnovers, no composure. We haven't really closed quarters very well, closed halves very well over the last handful of games. It cost us one game in the Denver series, and it certainly had an impact on this game tonight too. So we got to be better in clutch moments.
Okay, Brew, are you worried about your Wolves?
No. I mean, look, after what we saw last series, you can think the series looks like it's going one way, and obviously we talked about this after one game. Everybody, oh my gosh, now Dallas is going to win and all that stuff. But there's really no situation other than like 3-0 where I would feel like, oh, they're done. After what they did against the defending champions, not only in Game 6, but in Game 7. So, no, I'm not worried. And Chris Finch, Nick was just talking about what he said today after the film session, how he said his team wasn't prepared, acting like this in the Western Conference Finals. Look, at least their best player is young, and I do think it has to be.
That's an energy thing?
I think, I do think, and Nick said this could be a factor. I didn't think it would be going in, but they clearly were spent.
A little letdown.
Particularly Anthony Edwards. Yes. It was a letdown because not only physically going 7 games, because, look, you got to have the physical energy, which I think they will, but emotionally.
That's what I thought they were going to be spent, was emotional.
And Anthony Edwards, I think some of that was physical fatigue, but also emotional after that huge win over Denver. He was clearly spent in the fourth quarter. And so I think they've gone through a Phoenix team that has superstars on it. They went through the defending champions. And I think there was a letdown. I think there was a letdown.
So Josh did the numbers to back you up. Teams are now 1-4 in Game 1 in the series after beating the defending champions.
Oh, you see, I don't see. Reggie kept, and I promise I don't try to pick on Reggie Miller. He's on a lot of the broadcasts, and I don't agree with a lot of things he says. He kept talking about Ant being exhausted, and it seemed like he was talking about physically tired.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
But he looked. I agree.
Because
he looked tired.
Because the thing is
hit a three, and he dug down deep.
Right. Round 1, they swept Phoenix, so they played the minimum. Round 2, those games it went 7, but only the final game of the series was close. Right. You know what I mean? They were 30 and 40-point margins on both sides, so it wasn't that type of series where you're playing 46 minutes every night. And I do think it was. For every single person on the Timberwolves, they were coming off the best win of their lives, the biggest moment of their basketball lives, and there is a little bit of an emotional letdown there. I also think there were some concerning signs, though, for the Timberwolves on 2 fronts. One is when you win the 3-point battle, 18-6, you're not supposed to lose. That's the 5th time in playoff history a team has outscored the opponent by at least 36 on the 3-point line and lost the game. So that is a bit of a warning sign.
Shot a ton of threes.
They did shoot a ton of threes, and but if you go into the game and say one team's hitting 18, the other team's hitting 6, you think it's a blowout in that direction. The other one is, and I'm not trying to take shots at Denver, but you saw in this game the difference in rim protection Dallas has versus what they just had in round 2.
Sure.
And so Denver, they don't have a big other than Joker. That is the only weakness, if you will, of his game. And all of a sudden, things were harder on everybody for the for the Timberwolves. Not just their bigs, even Anthony Edwards' ability to get to the rim. And that is something Dallas does have a lot of bodies they can throw out there in that regard.
I'm glad you said that. 12 of his, 16 shots were threes.
Exactly.
And I think, look, Anthony Edwards, we know he's still young, 22 years old. And I would say, kind of mentality-wise, he is in between Jordan and Kobe and LeBron. Jordan and Kobe are trying to score, all the time. LeBron, obviously, is a guy that's looking to pass a lot. I think Edwards is kind of in that middle. I don't think he clearly doesn't have that Jordan Kobe. I'm not saying he's not a killer, but I'm saying where he's just constantly looking to
first
score.
Every time.
Yeah. I like that he plays in the system and gets everybody involved, but he's got to find that fine line. He's better do it quickly between being as aggressive as he needs to be and yet playing in the system and getting other guys involved. Because last night, and we've seen it before in these playoffs, he's got to be more. Some nights you just got to be like, I'm the best player on my team. I have to go get it. And I think he's still learning that.
So last 4 games, 20 points, 18 field goal attempts, and his field goal percentage obviously way down. Nick, is this part mentality, like Brew said, or is this how he's being defended? Certainly Denver.
Well, listen, Denver had a concerted effort of anybody but him's going to beat us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were hard trapping, they were doubling him and getting the ball out of his hands. I think yesterday there was an element of, oh man, Kyrie's kind of, rolling with Kyrie on the defensive end every possession is a lot more work than I know.
And
he
it was
knows
a lot
it.
of switching.
You're right,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. I just think he was not. He said it. What was the game I think it was game 3 of the previous round. Well, it definitely was game 3. It was like, hey, I wasn't ready tonight. This one's on me. I didn't have the energy.
I
think that
came out flat.
Right.
Yeah.
I think part of his age shows up in that, and in experience, he's not always as
right.
And that, by the way, is not even a criticism. I think that's
why so few players his age have done what he's trying to do.
If I may infringe on your copyright for just a moment before we move on, for your Timberwolves, Brew, game 2, must win.
They need this win, but no, I'm telling you, until this 3-0, I'm not counting these dudes out.
You lose the first 2 at home.
No.
It's bad. It's bad. You may think you can come back.
You got to the point where you thought your boys were going to win.
Bad.
So no.
Head to Boston for game 2 tonight. Glass half full. Indy should be inspired by a close game 1. Glass half empty. That was the Pacers' chance, and they blew it. Now the Celtics are going to roll. NBA title odds. Boston way ahead. Dallas, then Minnesota, then the Pacers. Part of this is a little gambling just because the Celtics are supposed to win. True or false?
Well, that's what I thought at first as well, but they have the odds out for the next series.
Yeah.
And Boston would be bigger favorites than they're listed here. So in the next round against Denver, they're minus 230. And
Denver's
against
back in.
Dallas.
Let's go.
And against Dallas or Minnesota?
I'm sorry, against, my bad. Boston against Minnesota would be minus 230, and against Dallas would be minus 270. So they're huge favorites.
Okay, see.
Huge favorites.
Because I was going to ask you, is this just a gambling thing in that they have the easiest matchup in the conference finals? But if it's just straight up they think Boston's the best team, I have a big problem with this. Now, weird, the way I look at matchups, I think Minnesota would be a tougher matchup for Boston than Dallas. But I don't know who I'd pick, Dallas, Boston. We'll see if it gets there. But I would pick Minnesota for sure. Look, the way Boston is, I don't know. So many people think Boston is just this awesome juggernaut.
Well, the standings think that.
Yeah, but they play in the Eastern Conference schedule too. If they were in the West, I don't even know that they'd have the best record in the league. And they certainly wouldn't have 64 wins. And so I don't understand. I think people are just looking at some analytics numbers and things like that to think Boston is this juggernaut. But look, they have had a bad game at home in each of their 2 series so far. And they came all 4. Well, let's see. Was game 1 that bad game? Because they had losses to Miami and Cleveland, and then every other game, or 7 of their 8 wins, they blew them out. So I want to see tonight, was game 1 that bad game? And if they come out tonight and blow the doors off Indy, then you'll be, okay, they're back, so to speak, and they should roll through this series. If Indiana plays them tough, even if Boston wins, then I think that's a sign that we've got a long competitive series ahead of us, because Indiana's been great at home.
So I am not at all worried about the Pacers being able to beat the Celtics, but it takes, and this is something Brew jokes with me about, about how for 7 straight years I picked LeBron to win the title.
Is it only 7?
Yes.
I think it's about 13.
No, that is not true. It is not accurate. We can check the tape. However, it's all 4 years in Miami, all 4 years in Miami, and 3 years at Cleveland. Not as last year in Cleveland. Thank you, sir. I did the first year.
How many Lakers years?
2 Lakers years. But that's not the point. The point is that that is partially because, I favor LeBron, but it's really because it takes a lot for me to think in the NBA Finals the team without the best player is going to win. It can't, you know what I mean? It obviously does happen, but it's all things being equal, give me the team with the best player. Now, usually when that doesn't work out, it's either that best player doesn't play like 2011 finals for LeBron, or that best player is so outgunned, like the KD Warriors finals. Typically that happens, or there's significant injuries.